Remember on the bottom left?
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be covering, doing a recap over a lot of stuff and why this channel was created and why and how we're going to move forward with information and everything to hope that we can bring some type of quick ending closure to this case and during while the search for a bridge guy, so we can bring some justice to Abby and Libby. And especially this will be our, let's see, we started 1 month ago today. And so as we progress through, we felt that we'd break up every now and then, every once a month or so, and have a recap and show some appreciation to our people in chat and everything, and answer some questions and just go whichever way they want to go on some of this. But we do have a small presentation once again of about 10 slides. So it'll be a short presentation after which we'll be answering any and all different types of questions. And but as always in the chat, let's try to stay away from initials and stuff, for the fact that we really don't want to influence anyone that may have that one tip that they're looking for to solve this case. We don't want to influence anyone in any shape, form, or fashion, because at the end of the day, we're all here for one purpose, and that's finding justice for Libby and Abby. But with that being said, I also want to thank everyone, all the creators that allowed me to get to this place I am today. We've had great growth, and it's not due to me. It's due to the people that I have worked with and the things they have put in and helped me with and put us on the right path to that we also can have some impact on this. Especially Marv and Frank, they were the first ones I ever had me on and gave me a platform to speak on. So I want to absolutely recognize them, and everyone, if you would, go out there and show your appreciation to them. Randy, I worked with him also, and them monsters under our bed. He was continues to be a great advisor and gives me some good information. And this week, actually, Crime and Shame had me on, let's see, a couple of nights ago, and almost 4 hours. So it was, they said I was the longest held guest for their show podcast. So I hold the record for that temporarily. Don't know how long that'll happen, but then again, after this show tonight, we'll be ending somewhere between 9 and 9:15, or whenever you give us the end of your questions or stuff, but we'll be going over there to Crime and Shame, and I'll be with them for ever how long they want me to present what I can do. I help them and offer them as far as information. As always, we're focused. This whole case is about this individual here, this psychopath that took the lives of 2 innocent children. And this channel is as our initial suspect and our initial person of interest in trying to identify this individual. This is the whole reason this channel was created, so that we can bring some justice to Libby and Abby. If we can working together, that we can bring some information forward. So the strategy of everything I do on my channel is trying to look at different parts of the case, develop that information, so that maybe possibly we can jog someone's memory or make someone come forward and be that hero to identify this individual if they have some type of relationship with him, or for whatever reason they haven't stepped forward yet. And so that's the main basis of what this channel is about. And we'll be moving out to other cases and things also. But also as a sideline to that and a side story to that, it gives me the opportunity to present and talk to you, the web sleuths out there, and bring a better understanding of what we and law enforcement do, and how we can progress in the future and have a greater impact, because absolutely the web sleuth community will have a great impact in the future of law enforcement. And law enforcement has this opportunity, and it's being accepted by some law enforcement agencies, some not so much yet. But if we can continue, and I try to be an ambassador for law enforcement and trying to get this word out so that we can work together, and hopefully at some point all the law enforcement agencies will learn how to maximize our communities and use us to make our society and to bring some closure quicker, and get some of these psychopaths, such as Bridge Guy, off the streets. Because we most certainly do not, or should we allow individuals of this type to even exist, let alone walk free. But we'll also be talking about some of the future moves and future strategies of what I've got coming in the coming weeks. I'll be going over some of that in the coming after our final slide. I'll talk about what we'll be doing next week and then the week after, and so that we can have some understanding of some of the strategies that I wish to bring forward so that we can serve this great cause that we have. And once again, I want to thank everyone out there in my community, and it's been a pleasure, and I look forward for many, many more shows, and see if we can't do something that will bring justice to these two innocent little children. Tonight, we're going to be talking about everything that's happened prior to me coming into the case, that either through all the sources and what I've looked at in my last, I guess 3 months since I was first introduced to this case and came on with Marv and Frank, and look at all the information from the sources out there, recap them briefly from the Libby and Abby's video, the news briefings, sketches, the search warrant, the Klan transcripts, media coverage. All of it has played a part in how we can come together and serve a great purpose. Law enforcement currently has a strategy that is 5 years old. Hopefully they'll change that strategy in the coming days, and hopefully they change it tomorrow, in my opinion. We're getting to the point that things are changing. Bridge Guy is not the guy he was 5 years ago. He's learned, and he's just as dangerous, and we should all take note of that and work hard so that we can bring some type of justice to him, make him realize that he will always be on the forefront of who we're looking for, and that we as a society won't allow him to continue. Let's start with, this is one of the first things that I became aware of once I started looking at this case, was the still image that they put out of Bridge Guy. Everyone knows that it's the 47, 48 frames total of that law enforcement chose to release. And along with this still image, it has, they brought in the audio, which the mere presentation of law enforcement bringing this into the investigation and releasing this information was a powerful move at the time. Absolutely. I mean, you could probably go across all the murder cases a year and decades, and you'll rarely see such evidence that two victims of a horrible crime could preserve, and after their deaths still be able to put it out there so that we as in the public have a chance to use it to bring him to justice. Then we have the audio part, which we had 2 sections, 2 releases on it, initially Down the Hill, and then Guys, which everyone almost has that in their subconscious. I can almost hear it in my sleep. I've listened to it so much, trying to understand what type of person, the personality that said that, the control he had, just as if it's a casual conversation. knowing exactly what power he had and knowing what the outcome was going to be, either on that day of the 13th, or if it was an induction and he was going to transport him somewhere else and continue. But Libby and Abby decided no. But that's part of the investigations that we don't know. We don't know if he just merely lost control for a moment and Libby and Abby changed his days or his day plans and refused to go wherever he was going to take them. Because you don't go out and attempt an abduction of two persons or one person without having the intent of taking them somewhere. Was he going to take them to the crime scene? Was that his total focus for the day, or did he have an alternative place? We don't know those details, but we most certainly know what the final results were for what this guy had planned. And he most certainly had it in his planning that if certain things occurred, that he was prepared to act, and he absolutely did viciously. But unfortunately, this image is extremely pixelated. And so it does give some clues, but not anything that we can identify this individual on. But hopefully that'll change. Hopefully modern, as technology changes, maybe they'll be able to bring some greater detail. But currently we're at a standstill. And I know this for the reason that law enforcement hadn't released anything better since the day of this. Hopefully they have, and hopefully they'll release those frames and that whole video of 43 seconds so that if there are clearer images as he draws nearer, so that we can see those mannerisms and we can see greater detail if he does have something facially recognizable or some type of hand deformities or certain more of his speech pattern, if that's in there. We just don't know currently. But we always have the clothing and stuff, and we have the speculation that this one image has created that from the part that people say, well, he's walking across the bridge with his hands in his pocket. Well, this is a still image of just a second and a half or 1.8 or 2 seconds, depends who's timing it, of this individual. Is other things brought forward. I believe it. There's already a gun presented, and that's how come they regulated how many frames, and they did some digital editing to just release this in the hopes of that it would be enough to serve the purpose. That hasn't been the case, but hopefully that will be the case, that they will release more information, and so that we can work together and get this guy off the street. This here, as everyone knows, is Carter. He's with the Indiana State Police. He's the superintendent of them. He's their leading spokesperson on this case in all the news briefings across the country. I believe the first time I saw him was in the second news briefing. And he's always been there. Speakers that have come forward and talked, but he's the main face of this case. And he's, in most part, been a superb leader. And I have no problem with what the man did the first couple of years. None whatsoever. Now I'm sure that he has some doubts, and I know that they're working on a certain strategy to end this case, because law enforcement does that. They're not going to give up on it. There's always going to be someone in law enforcement, regardless if he's still Mr. Carter is still around or others are, because we take it to heart that this is an individual that does not to be out there among the walking, that we have to do something to put him, incarcerate this bridge guy, and bring him to justice. But since February 14th till today, law enforcement has had the same message. Basically, they've released that video, that audio, they've released those sketches, and they've consistently, since that, I think it was on February the 23rd, when the first time I heard anyone with the investigation mention we need that one tip. And it's been that way continuously, and it's been repeated and repeated. We need that one tip that will solve this case. And as I've stated before, I've never worked a case in my life that one tip couldn't have solved it. And that's what they want. And that's the focus of what we want to do and work with this channel and try to bring some good information, logical information, and give hope that they can act on that information. Someone out there will step forward and bring that one tip to the attention of law enforcement and solve this thing.
Okay, hold on one second. Aaron says your audio keeps going up and down and you're cutting out. So let's scoot to just a little bit.
Okay. Hopefully that solves it. I'm sorry about that. But in one of the later conversations, Mr. Carter here, he mentioned that the suspect is alive and watching. And that's true, that if this person is of a certain personality and a certain side, has certain mannerisms that are associated in certain feelings and of how a psychopath works, they all have certain denominators in that all of them want to know where they're at as far as being hunted. They want to know what impact they've had, where is law enforcement. They try to gather information. So he's, I agree with that. And you can see in Carter's mannerisms a lot that he is addressing actually the person in question, Bridge guy, talking almost directly to it. Mr. Carter continues to state that it's not a cold case. I'll argue the point that, Department of Justice in some of their journals and things say after 3 years, it starts becoming, that's how they define a cold case. But each their own. Whatever keeps them active and searching, it doesn't bother me whichever way they want to do. But the only thing that does concern me is their strategy hasn't changed in the last 3 years. He's to come in, and that's what we want. We don't want the same tips to be coming in. We have to try and do everything we can to focus that one individual that to be that hero. Step forward, turn in your brother, your uncle, your husband, because you're in just as much danger as Libby and Abby was on February the 13th. When this man strikes, he strikes ruthlessly, and he can do it to you, he can do it to your family, and he can do it to others. Mr. Carter here, he states that he believes they'll be solved before his retirement, and I hope it is. But he also stated that his retirement at the time of this last interview that I saw, I think it was in February of this year, near the 5-year anniversary, he was citing that it was still another 3 years and 11 months before his retirement. A lot of bad things can happen in 3 years and 11 months. And therefore, that's why I believe that strategies should be changed and we should address this issue now. And he says they have a strategy. I hope within that strategy that it has a timeline of when do we take the next step? When do we decide to make and allow new information to get out there? I think we've passed that date, but that's my opinion. But hopefully he will also start seeing that we're at a standstill unless they absolutely have someone that they have under control by surveillance or they're incarcerated and they're just waiting for the final judicial processes to move. I hope that is the case. But if it's not, we need more information so that we can get out there and bring this stuff to a close. One of the biggest issues that we had of confusing the issue of Bridge Guy was the introduction of a younger Bridge Guy. Originally, they came out with the seeking information of the older Bridge Guy with a hat. And then a couple years later, they totally flipped the coin and said, no, this is someone that we're looking for now. And so with this new individual and these new sketches, it has cast and placed doubt and law enforcement has lost confidence of certain communities and persons within that community are very important. That if you're focused along one way, you may have been at the point of convincing someone, and then all of a sudden we flip the page and we've gone to someone else. Although Carter says that that's not the case, that you can take these two, bring them together, throw them away, and you'll have bridge guy. Have no idea what that means. That's the most confusing thing. And he keeps defending that issue. And, you know, he may be absolutely correct. But I look forward to when we do get bridge guy that we understand what he meant. Right now, I don't have a clue to what he meant. But we're looking forward to bringing some closure to it. And the sketches didn't help the case when they flipped the coin. And it has always been a burr under the saddle of where are they headed with this? What did they mean? But like I say, we'll find out eventually. The search warrant was another great. It was probably one of the most revealing pieces of paper or filings by law enforcement made available, of course, by murder sheets. But it's still very valuable. And it was something that revigorated the case and gave us hope. And which some people read it totally because it was most certainly implied at the time that this search warrant was issued that who was the person that they was of interest to law enforcement. And unfortunately, like I said, law enforcement and a lot of people have the tendencies to over embellish search warrants, and that's what happened. And they put it towards Mr. Ron Logan at the time, and which embellishing it really didn't serve a purpose. The bodies were on the properties, but I most certainly appreciate the information within that. And I understand why they searched Ron Logan's. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have, but they most certainly, there's some details in there that has given us the ability to look at what type of person would commit this crime. And so that we could focus in, especially with my channel, of how I wish to proceed with my strategy, trying to identify a person and the suspect of our community out there, someone that knows this guy, because someone does know him. Someone saw those changes in his behavior, especially when that picture was released of him. And especially when, you look back and you say, this is Uncle Fester or so had a similar jacket and similar jeans. Look in his closet. Does he no longer have those jeans and jacket? If not, put in that tip. If you have pictures in some of your family albums, go through them of old ball games the fall before. That's one of the greatest things of people that could do in that community. If this is a local guy, look at during the prior cool, when other people would wear the clothing that he was wearing during the season changes of the fall before. Is he someone that might have attended football games and may have worn that same outfit or that same jacket? And if you know people in that community, most certainly contact them, have them go through some of their old ball game pictures and not look at what they were focused on, but look at who the people to the sides. And that could be from fall festivals, winter festivals, whatever type of festivals within the 6 months prior to this. Most certainly look at that stuff, because you may have that person of interest in that one tip just from looking from the similar clothing that this guy was wearing. But within the search warrant, it also gave you certain items that they were looking for. And those items of interest, it came from everything from hair to fluids, to digital formats that could have captured the scene, which are all clues to what the FBI thought this personality type would do. And within those crime scene details, there's a lot of information, and we'll continue to cover them in future things and future podcasts. But knowing from the search warrant some of the things and some of the clues that were brought forth through the search warrant, to the type of the offender, to that the FBI was involved, is all, the FBI involvement in this. All we do, I don't know if y'all can hear in the background, we got another storm coming through, of course. So if the power goes off, we'll just come back once the emergency generator kicks on. Hopefully that won't be the case, but in case we do lose power or something, it comes on in about 45 seconds. So we may have to kick off and come back in with another. So if you see us run, or if you see the show break down, that's the reason for it. But the FBI involvement and what they did and the resources they brought forth, I give them much respect for what they did and helped in this case. And another thing that the murder sheets brought forth was the Klan transcript, the interrogations, the interview, and we're going to be doing a in-depth coverage of the Klan transcripts. We're going to have 2 shows next week that's totally going to be focused only on the Klan transcripts and the information and details that's in that, and for the hopes that we can remind someone or have someone to step forward and give us some information of that, break that alibi, or bring in that one tip that, yes, this is the motive of why these 2 young girls were targeted. And because there's most certainly within the Klan transcripts, there is motive there of why someone would, of a certain personality contact, of traits that would commit such a crime. These psychopaths, it's all about them. They're narcissistic, and it's all about them, and they're not going to let anyone destroy their world. They'll destroy anyone that stands in their way of what they want to do. But we'll look at the sexual offender connections, POIs. We'll be looking at the alibis within it. And there's a lot of information in that, in those transcripts about a timeline of communications, the online searches, the movements for the Klans, and most importantly, there's even a address or residence that law enforcement looked at from that Klan interview that was a focus, a critical focus of law enforcement during that interview. And like I say, all interviews are goal oriented towards a certain, gathering certain information. And we most certainly want to identify that motive. And we really want to talk about that Anthony Shots account, because that covers some of the victimology of where Libby and Abby's path put them possibly in harm's way. That if this personality and this psychopath was part of the Anthony Shots account, regardless of who the player is, that this most certainly would be one way that Libby and Abby's victimology placed them in harm's way. We have the media coverage. While we look at the media coverage, and it needs to be continued, and not just what's on the news, but from the social media standpoint, and from the news agencies, CrimeCon, and the YouTube creators. And I ask all the YouTube creators, let's work together. Focus of exactly what, and I'll work with any of you and all of you, because there's only one purpose that we should act, and for one reason we should act, and that's bringing justice for Libby and Abby in any shape, form, or fashion that we can, and try to help the families reach some type of conclusion, which they never will. The tragedy and the heartache that they've gone through, we cannot, unless you've been part of that, there's no way you can even imagine what they're going through. But with that being said, what our upcoming podcast and what our focus will be is that we're going to work towards trying to get that one clue, that one tip. And so most certainly work with us. And if you got any questions, let's give it. All right. Yeah, that's this part right here. And so now we're open to any type of questions y'all want to have.
You want to ask if they want to tell us if they have a case or anything?
Oh, also, yes. If as we work forward on our cases and we journey into new areas, if you have any cases, and I get emails from looking at certain types of testings or the crime scene information of processing, and I appreciate all of that because it gives me what the community is interested in and where we should go with this. But also, if there's other cases out there that you think that we should also assist, most certainly let me know, especially if they're happening almost now, because I want to act on the cases that we can have the greatest impact on, at the fastest impact, that if we can save a life, let's try to save that life. There's some of the colder cases, we'll work those as we don't have some of the more, what's important now, because there's certain cases out there that there's only a certain amount of timeline that law enforcement and us have the possibility of having a pause and maybe saving a life. So if y'all have cases or something comes attention in the next day or two in your local areas that you know of that we need to focus on immediately, let me know and we'll jump to that and continue our search for Bridge Guy also.
All right. Support with Steffa. It's a Crime and Shame and True Crime Web was an amazing show. And
I told Crime and Shame, they contacted me today and want me to come back on tonight. And I told them I have no problem. And I was going to promote it as Steve Day 2, the Deb stand-in tour. So hopefully Deb will be back in a few days and be able to start back with them. And she has a great panel. Crime and Shame, they're a great panel of professionals. And I love their passion for this case and for other cases. And I admire them very much. They're very professional.
And Olivia, too, also it's a Crime and Shame.
Well, y'all gonna get to see it again or something. We're going into a new area tonight for Crime and Shame of what they're going to be focusing on tonight. And hopefully I can bring some critical information for them.
Support with Steffa. Today is the 1st anniversary of Summer Wells missing. Say a prayer for Ellie to find answers.
Absolutely.
I cannot believe that's been a year.
I know it. And actually, several wishing me to look at that. And that most certainly is on my list.
And thank you, Christy. I have enjoyed all of your videos. We appreciate that. Jim Cook. Steve, don't you think it's time they share more information?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And everyone that has any contacts, regardless of where it's at, with Delphi or with the government of Indiana, any pressures that can be brought forth to make them law enforcement that, the strategy, guys, isn't working. Either tell us one way or another what we've got to do to bring comfort, because there's children out there that right now that they don't know, is Bridge Guy out there? Is he focused? What is he doing? Is he of the budding serial killer type? Is he still stalking? And so they're absolutely, there's people out there and families out there of great concern that would live in those communities. And we most certainly need to address those issues. And law enforcement needs, like I said, my opinion, they need to step forward and put the community's minds at ease.
All right. TTM Fangirl, your heart and passion is great.
Thank you.
20 years of that. All right.
Yeah.
Christy, prayers for precious little Summer. I still can't believe it's been a year. Aaron Bremer, I wholly trust what you say. I know you don't advance conspiracy theories and deal with the facts.
That's what I'm trying to do. And like I said, it's all strategy on my part. Is my strategy better than law enforcement strategy? No, I don't have the information that law enforcement has. But I do have that. I'll take what information I have and take it as far as I can to push every button I can on Bridge Guy, and let him know that most certainly I look forward to the day that he meets justice.
Sally Ann, I feel sorry for Carter. You can really feel emotion regards to the girls when he speaks.
Absolutely. You at times you see that this is a man that he doesn't like to be in the position he's in. You know, no one likes to say that when the family says something, it's like a gut punch. And when he said that, you know, in one of his interviews, I felt sorry for the man. But you know, what did he do to put himself in that position? You know, you have to work with these families. You have to step forward, step up, and you know, I know that his intentions are great, as a lot of law enforcement are, but you can't let the community lose faith in your abilities, and because it just doesn't work out. It just when the communities lose respect, you know, it is such a sad situation.
All right. Jim Cook, one of the family is losing confidence in LE.
They are, and
that would be easy to do.
Yes, and that's sad. You know, the liaisons or whoever working with the public relations officer that should be working with the families and stuff. You know, it is an extremely sad situation.
All right, Sally Ann, I like this one. We are looking for a morphing chameleon.
That is exactly because
good description.
These psychopaths, Bridge Guy, he learned from his mistakes that day, and has he continued, moved forward to another location? Don't know. Is he still within that community? Is he still operating? But he does it he's moved out and only does it during certain things. All these psychopaths, some of them, you know, like I said, they in our world today, it's not that we're not in horse and buggy. You know, you can jump on a plane and go a vast distance. That whatever his fantasy world is, and where could he travel to, or is he within that community still doing what he does? Does he have trophies so that he can relive that experience of what he did that day? Did he make that video? Is that what all the information contained in that search warrant is talking about? That this type of person would do that, and with modern technologies, that may be exactly what happened.
All right, Olivia 2, IMO. Carter's comments are extremely confusing. I agree with that one.
Absolutely. They are confusing on so many levels. And because you see, when he states that he has a strategy, that means that you have something that's planned and well organized. And or at least it does to me, that, you know, if you have a strategy, you have a playbook. And within that playbook, you have to go by certain details for it to be a strategy that is a winning strategy. And most certainly coming out and confusing the public and not having the ability to clarify exactly what you mean of these two sketches and the video, and, you know, saying I'd rather have it than not have it. What does all that mean? And the strategy should be a little bit better than that.
Right. SP74, thank you for your seasoned attention to this case, Steve.
It's been a pleasure.
And this one is funny. Digital. Carter is the Yoda of Delphi. One day, what he has said will make sense. Let today be the day.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I do too. Absolutely. And I hope that's true. And I hope that sometime in this broadcast, one of you out there tell me that arrest's been made and this thing is solved and we're about to be enlightened to exactly what Bridge Guy's motivation and his reasoning. We'll never understand truly of a madman's reasoning of why he would destroy the lives of two innocent children.
All right. Jane from the country. Steve, you do have good experience in the field of law enforcement. Thank you.
It was always an honor to serve and protect families. And there, as I said in Crime and Shame the other night, that it's not all in law enforcement about getting bad guys. I mean, I got my share of bad guys off the street, but it's also being able to step forward in a community, and there's certain people out there that need to know that they're protected, and brings certain security and safety, and they can, to them, that they know that they're being protected. And I had the honor of being able, hopefully, to bring that in my career to these people, that they understood that there's always, that if you need, if evil comes to your door, there's always someone out there willing to stand in that doorway and say, no, that ain't going to happen.
All right. And Sally Ann has Evansdale little girls, pretty please.
I will be looking into that. There is, that's probably my number one question in the last 2 weeks in my emails that I've been getting, is to look at that. And most certainly, Mrs. Steve and I have discussed it, and we were going to discuss it some more, and we will be looking at that. And I know that I believe law enforcement doesn't think there's anything connected. And most certainly, I probably won't be able to do anything, but I'll look at it in depth and see what similarities there are from the demographics on, and see if there's any telltale signs in there, because that may be within that it may be. I mean, we don't know all the facts, but hopefully we will one day.
All right. Is this the type of person who would frequent hangouts, sporting events, or places young women hang out? Or does he hide behind a false identity on the computer, or both?
That's an excellent question. Well, that's a great question, and I've had several of those great questions presented, but that is a one for tonight. That whatever his fantasy world is if this psychopath, if part of his fantasy is the stalking and the hunting of going to those grocery stores or ball games or walking trails or state parks, whatever his fantasy is of how he keeps track, and he may be keeping track of several potential victims of they're all potential victims. If he has you within his sights, it's an extremely dangerous situation. And but he most certainly would be someone that, whatever his hunting grounds are, we know that at least on one day, at some point, he decided to target these two innocent children. Was it like I said before, was he on that trail looking for any victim that entered within his ambush zone? And Libby and Abby happened to hit within that 5-minute ambush zone time limit? Or had he been stalking them for a week? Had he been stalking them for 5 months? Whatever their victimology was it a chance encounter, or was it actually a targeting long term? But regardless, this psychopath that would do this, if his other victims and other collection of trophies most certainly should make us look at and try to limit his ability to go out there and target others.
All right. Digital. If Bidgie's alibi is someone lying for him and they are not involved in any criminal behavior, what kind of pressure can LE legally use to try and get them to tell the truth, especially if they're scared?
Well, I mean, most certainly anyone that comes forth and that will bring the information forward, law enforcement's going to embrace them. Now, even if because there is some mixed signals out there. Was there one person involved, or was there multiple persons involved? There were some indications within the crime scene that it was a mix of organized and disorganized crime scene, and can either be just from a organized killer that lost control at some point, or it's a organized killer with a sub partner that is involved in the crime, or is it someone at home that he went home to that saw his clothing or knows his clothing and has failed to step forward? I'm telling the communities out there, whoever that individual is, I'll be your strongest advocate that if you call in at any point, especially right now, and make that call, we as a community will step forward, and we should step forward. That we don't know the pressures that was put on this person, and how they fear Bridge Guy, because there's certain reasons to fear Bridge Guy, and that is a great defense of why you haven't stepped forward yet. But do step forward. I mean, we have to step forward and bring an end to this psychopath.
All right, now I want your answer to this one. Olivia 2 at True Crime Web. Do you think the Delphi killer goes to CrimeCon? Because if he goes to CrimeCon, I'm not going to CrimeCon.
Yeah. In certain, there is a certain personality that he might do such a thing just to show his dominance. But that is very perceptive of you that such an individual might do that, just to see and meet some individuals and see what might be going on, because there's only so many areas of where YouTubers and personalities gather, and CrimeCon, of course, is one of those. And I most certainly hope that at some point, if he does that someone at CrimeCon takes care of the situation. We got something going on.
Yeah, your daughter.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. What is that Freemasonry thing?
That's right.
All right. So the Bible group, Steve, how does Freemasonry affect the justice system?
I know that he's the Bible group. You've made several towards Freemasonry. I don't know that much about Freemasonry. I'm sure in my career, I arrested some of them. There's no group or organization out there that's above the law, from what I've witnessed. Now, each of y'all have your own opinions, and most certainly you're welcome to them. But and if you have certain information that a certain group is unjustly or for whatever reason not being held accounted, there's ways of contacting people that will handle them and handle that situation. But I've just never noticed it, and I never one time in my life asked anyone, "Are you a Freemason or not?" If they were breaking the law, I put handcuffs on them. They could say whatever they want, but I've never even had one that I was arresting, and I know in the thousands of people that I've arrested, that I've arrested a few of them because it's impossible not to. But they never brought up that you can't do this. I'm a Freemason. Never heard that excuse.
Digital. Steve, what do you think the motive for these murders is?
Well, without a full understanding of what happened at the crime scene and just snippets, there's several motives and motivations that it could be. And the law enforcement would be looking and probably running parallel investigations for different types of motives. Because if this was just a chance encounter and it is a serial killer, his motive and motivations can be within his organized or his disorganized fantasy world, and versus that if it is something that is from the drug side of it, or if it is something of somebody just narcissistic that these young ladies uh, encountered. They're all different motives and motivations, which without the total understanding of that crime scene, we don't have. And I'd just be guessing if I told you that this is the motive, but it's somewhere within that. The motives is within one of these personalities, but and that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be playing the numbers and looking at the certain type of personality that most certainly will be in the majority. And as we move forward and I address Bridge Guy and put my total focus on him right after next week, then I'm going to have a couple of shows that's I'm going to focus totally on Bridge Guy.
All right. From Aaron. If BG continues to do what he does, wouldn't he do it somewhere else so as not to bring attention to himself? I would think he would have to go somewhere else or bodies would start showing up.
He could, you're correct in certain sense that yes, but he can also change some of his modus operandi of how he approaches or what he does. The crime scene would tell us exactly what certain things that if he did certain things at this crime scene and it fed his fantasy world, he's going to continue that. But there's going to be some other things that how he approaches victims and who he selects may change. And there's going to be some things that he can't change. He's of a personality type that if that fantasy world and he's locked in on it, he's that way till the day he dies.
This is a good one. The Bible group. There's only one person Bridge Guy fears, Steve.
I'll not. No, there's a lot of good officers out there, and there's some men out there. I was just a single officer, but I worked with some extremely brave and honorable people, male and female, that they were extremely dedicated to the job. And I believe that this next generation of law enforcement are just as well focused. They're better educated, and hopefully they're highly motivated. And I'm, I miss it doing certain things. Now, Mrs. Steve here doesn't miss me missing it because she had to deal with what it was being the wife of an officer, and as I came home in certain conditions that wasn't the way that you went to work as.
Not good. All right. Sally Ann, thank you. Evansdale may not be connected. However, the families have been waiting 10 years. I just feel for them as Delphi is such a high profile case and it's like them girls have been forgotten.
Sadly, I hope that's not the case. And I don't know that much about Evandale's now. We're about to get involved in it. And most certainly, if anyone out there has a great deal of details about the Evandale's case, forward me whatever information you got, because I'll save, time on my part, and I'll be forever beholden to you. Or if you have a creator out there that is totally the encyclopedia of the Evandale's case, give me that link, let me know, and so I can make some contact with them, and we can focus on it and save some time and effort and see what's out there.
All right, and Steve's email is running on the ticker, just so you know. All right, Lil Bit 40. Thank you so much for your expertise and commitment to Libby and Abby. You stay out of, I'm thinking that's the drama, and give us straight to the point information, and that is refreshing. Much love.
And I wish to continue that, and through my community and y'all working with us, that's what we want to do. Do I get trolled every now and then? I'm sure I have, but there's nothing anyone can do on this keyboard that someone in person, I don't fear anything that anybody can put on a keyboard and do to me. I don't fear whatever anybody wants to come and see me can do to me. It don't work out for
Mm. All right, let's see here. Oh my goodness. Getting emails.
them. Oh yeah.
All right. Sally Ann, Steve, do you have a certain area in criminality that you are more intrigued in than others? In other words, psychological side of it?
I believe that there's certain ways of applying pressure to the criminal element, and I mean, but I've enjoyed working across the spectrum of law enforcement, working with stakeouts or road patrol or working in the criminal part of it. But I found great joy even in processing crime scenes. That when you go out there to a crime scene and there's a great burden put on you that you solve this case, and sometimes the only way a case can be solved is through physical evidence. And it's a great responsibility to go into that crime scene and make sure that you process and you document every element of it. So there's, and then there's the part of the psychological part that, okay, we don't have the evidence to prove a certain individual did a certain crime. Then you have to start looking at how they approach BTK. BTK was just narcissistic, and that was his downfall at that time, that his narcissistic side of him, that they weren't paying attention to him. He had to step forward and make contact. And law enforcement, through the psychological aspects of it, was able to establish communications with him and bring in through their behavioral science units and communications through the newspaper. Now we have the web that we can communicate with, and it's just as powerful. And so there's, I enjoyed all parts of it, and I'm not the mind I was 10, 15 years ago. As we age and we get older, I'm past my heyday of being able to process information as I was able to do a few years ago. And it's just like chess players. As you age, you don't have the mental capacity that you had as that 30, 35-year-old, and you don't have the stamina either. But I still have a great passion for this.
All right. Olivia Chu, do you think there are YouTube channels and Facebook pages who purposely give false info to confuse the case?
I think there's such a rush and such a desire that they want to create content at the expense of clickbait, and we don't want to do that. Just so that they can build their audience. I understand that you want to build an audience, and I want a footprint that is large enough that I can have an impact positively of making our communities understand law enforcement, and also that we can do something to make our communities safer. And I hope my footprint grows. I'm going to try to do everything I can for that purpose, because, like I say, when I leave this world, I want to leave with the feeling that I did something good for society.
All right. SP74, how do you think this guy escaped such an unprecedented onslaught of LE?
Boy, man. And I believe Bridge Guy, on day one of him seeing his video, he was prepping for the encounter of law enforcement. Probably did for the first week or two. And that he was constantly looking over his shoulder. Is he doing the same today? I'm sure that he has a certain amount of confidence that he isn't looking over his shoulder currently as much as he was those first days and that first week. But you can see mannerisms in Carter that almost says that, well, we know who you are. We know more than you think we know about you. And what does that mean? Hopefully it means that you're under surveillance. We're targeting you, and we're waiting for the final clue, and then we're going to get you.
And Marv joined, and she survived the storm. So we're glad to hear that.
Excellent, Marv.
Go check out Marvin Frank, True Crime Unsolved Squad. All right, Sally Ann. Steve, I hope if they do get into LE that this generation's need for instant gratification doesn't lead to false convictions.
I hope that's, I hope that is the case. And it's sad that we even consider that as a possibility, that we've lost such confidence in our law enforcement on so many levels that's sad that that's even should be considered. But, there's, unfortunately, there are bad apples out there that make our society focus on that.
Lake Michigan, Drew Collins, dad of one of the Iowa girls, did a couple of interviews with Crime Dive Investigates, if you want his perspective on that case.
I'll look at that. Thank you.
Bible group. Steve, let's say Bridge Guy's watching right now. Would you have a message for him? You probably don't want to.
Yeah, I do. Oh, ain't no problem.
Okay.
Email me. Let's
set up
I'll get you to the proper authorities, and we can talk about the details or whatever. But which of course this psychopath isn't going to do that. But I most certainly would love to communicate with him. You have my email. You have the internet. Create whatever how you feel that you need to do. Write me a letter. Or send a letter to someone to send me an email. I most certainly would love to speak with you.
All right, from Digital. If you were going undercover for this case, what group would you infiltrate, or who would you pretend to be? Digital
won't lay it up. He wants my POI. He wants my POI. If I told you what group, you know it instantly who my POI was. We're good. Try again.
All right, let's see here. What is this? Marvin Frank, please share these videos. More people need to hear what Steve is saying. Thank you, Marv. All right, let's see here. Teresa, please check your email ASAP. I sent you information on Drew Collins of Evansdale.
Thank you.
Thank you so
and I'll
much.
be getting in with that. And most certainly, I appreciate the community out there and everything you've done for me and as we grow. Do we have any more questions? Or are we getting pretty close?
Here. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Randy.
He's out there.
Randy is also, he's never once failed to answer one of my phone calls or my emails. And he's given me a great platform that whenever I go in and I watch him, and he's given me great insight of the layout of the land within Delphi. And I most certainly look forward to at some point meeting him and Marv and Frank and anyone else out there in my community that hopefully we can get together in Delphi soon and meet and talk and see if we can't help this case move forward.
Now, this is funny. This is Sally Ann. We are going to have to hack Steve's computer to get his POI.
I don't even think it's on my computer.
It's not. I take care of the Google machine. Yeah, remember?
She's my Google machine technician.
All right. Let's see here. Marvin Frank would love to work with you on Evansdale. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Hey, Frank Meister. All right. So they missed your thank you at the beginning. So you need to thank Frank and Marv.
Oh, and yes.
They were dodging, or Marv was dodging the storms.
Oh, okay. But yes, the people I wish to thank is platforms out there. Most certainly is Marv and Frank. Y'all check out their channel and help support them. But Marv and Frank and Randy, they all played a big influence and helped me get started and giving me a platform to speak on. Monsters Under Our Bed, same thing. He's a great influence and continues to be, just like Marv, Frank, and Monster and Crime and Shame. They embraced me just as soon as I contacted them, and they have a great panel and they do a great thing. And then we'll continue. And don't forget that we're going to be getting out here in a few minutes, but I'm going to be on Crime and Shame. We did a 3 hour and 40 something minute last time. I'm prepared to go whatever it does to be an ambassador for law enforcement. I'm willing to put the hours in to make sure that we can improve this community and understanding, and that we can put some bad guys in jail. But this all tonight, you can go ahead and knock it off.
We got a couple.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got a couple more we're going to do real quick. Let's see here. There's a saying, don't play games with a game show host. Steve is the game show host. That's funny.
It is.
All right, let's see here. Bible Group thanks you for answering his questions.
Okay.
And Bobby is looking for your POI. Everybody's looking for his POI.
Oh, no, that's yours. They're looking for you, Mrs. Steve.
Oh, Mrs. Steve. Oh, I can't give that. If I give that, then no, that won't work.
I think do we have the same?
We have the same
Okay.
one.
All
Yep,
right.
that won't work.
Okay.
He just likes me to look at their eyes. So that's another whole story.
Yes.
Um,
And Crime and Shame will appreciate that, because that's that women's intuition, and she's a great judge of character in many senses.
yeah. All right, Steve, do you think Ellie might have used DNA to confirm younger Guy Sketch?
There's certain DNA theories out there, and how you can build certain characteristics from the populations of what the DNA indicators are. Did they use that? I don't know. I know there's several creators out there that think possibly it has been, and I'm not, they are probably far more informed of that, but great if it is. And I hope that one day, eventually, they will be able to put DNA in and tell you everything about him that they can, and draw a picture of him, or create a picture or image of him that is not just an average.
All right, last one for the night, so he can bop over to the other one. This is from Lisa. Did your POI ever change? Mine did.
Hers did.
Mine did.
As I get more involved in the cases and stuff, I still have the POI, because statistically my POI is leading the board. But there's certain information out there that there's a possibility that I'm wrong, and that way, and I can't, and that's the reason I don't want to close out the other possibilities, because there's certain motives and motivations, and there may be connections out there that's within these other motives and motivations and other information that my POI is linked to them. And as I continue to work towards that, to see if those links exist. But there is information out there that is indicative that I could be wrong. And I hope that I always stay open-minded enough that I don't ever get focused on just one person, that whatever the evidence leads me to be on the day of closing, that's where I'm going to go. But right now, I don't have anything to take me totally away from my POI. And but when the day comes, if tomorrow there's a revelation or there's a tip that comes in, that may happen. But I want to thank everyone for everything that y'all have done for me, and as my channel grows, and you're much appreciated, and I look forward to working for you. But we all should remind ourselves of what we're working towards and forward, and that's for the 2 innocent children that lost their lives that day, and everything that they gave us to solve the case. There was a great comment the other night on Crime and Shame that Libby and Abby did everything that they could to give us their killer's information. And now it's up to us to provide the other part of it, so that we can bring and do our part to solve this and bring Bridge Guy to justice. And so let's continue to work together. Let's be, as professional as we can with other creators. And most certainly, if there's any creator out there that needs any type of aid or assistance or whatever I can bring to your table, or most certainly let me know. And because we're all in this for one purpose, And like I say, it's been I can't say it's really been a pleasure doing this, but it's a necessity. It's not. It serves. I do love it, and the words to describe it is not exactly. They're conflicting. That it's not just a feeling of pleasure, but it's a desire to make sure that we do the right thing and bring justice to Bridge Guy, and so that Libby and Abby can rest in peace, and their family, that they can sleep a little bit better at night. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you for tonight, and I'm going to be
look for us twice next week.
Yeah, we're going to be on Monday and Wednesday of next week. I'm going to have a 2-part series on the Klan transcripts, because it's 194 pages, and it takes a lot of word by word defining study of what was meant and where it's going. But I look forward to speaking to you next week, and y'all be safe, and
Jump on It's a Crime and Shame.
And also cross over and go watch Crime and Shame, and support them along with Marv, Frank, Monsters, and Randy. And I'll see y'all Monday, or I'll see some of y'all in just about 30 or 40 minutes. Good night.